Picture this. You're a British Army engineer in 1951, and you've just been handed what might be the most over-engineered military vehicle ever built. It's got a 5-speed gearbox that lets you reverse at full speed in every single gear. It's got portal axles borrowed from heavy artillery tractors. It's got a specially designed Rolls-Royce engine under the hood. On paper, it should be unstoppable. Within a few short years, it would be humiliated by a farm vehicle. This is the story of the Austin Champ, Britain's answer to the American Jeep, and one of the most spectacular cases of a military overthinking a problem that a civilian company solved by accident. Let's get into it. After World War II, the British Army had a problem. They'd spent the entire war borrowing, buying, and occasionally begging for American Jeeps. And by the time peace arrived, military planners in Whitehall had decided enough was enough. Britain needed its own light utility vehicle, something built to British specifications, with British engineering, that didn't rely on Washington's supply chains. So the War Office drew up a wish list, and it was an ambitious one. They wanted a vehicle that could handle the roughest terrain in the world, ford deep water without stalling, climb impossible gradients, and survive being driven by soldiers who had zero mechanical sympathy. They wanted something that could be driven forwards and backwards at the same speeds, so a driver could reverse out of danger just as fast as they drove into it. They wanted portal axles, which lift the differential housing above the axle line for extra ground clearance, the kind of engineering you'd expect on a heavy gun tractor, not a light runabout. Austin Motor Company took on the challenge, and what they delivered was, without question, an engineering marvel. The Austin Champ, officially the Truck 14-ton CT 4x4, rolled into production in the early 1950s. It ran on a purpose-built Rolls-Royce B40 4-cylinder engine, essentially a scaled-down version of the straight six used in armored cars. It had that unheard-of 5-speed, 5-reverse gearbox. It had independent suspension on all 4 wheels for a smoother ride over rough ground. It could wade through water up to its windscreen with the right waterproofing kit fitted. By every technical measure the War Office had written down, the Champ delivered. It was, on paper, one of the most capable light military vehicles on the planet. But here's the problem with designing a vehicle around a checklist of impressive specifications. You tend to forget the boring stuff. The stuff that actually matters when you're a 19-year-old squaddy standing in the mud trying to keep a fleet running. The Champ was catastrophically over-engineered for the job it needed to do. That 5-speed reverse gearbox, technically brilliant, was mechanically complex and expensive to manufacture. The portal axles, fantastic for ground clearance, added weight, cost, and maintenance headaches. The Rolls-Royce engine, built specifically for this one vehicle, meant there was no shared parts pool with anything else in British service. Every component was bespoke. Every repair needed specialist knowledge. Every unit rolling off the line cost the British taxpayer a small fortune compared to what was needed. And then, across the Atlantic, and completely by accident, the answer to all of it showed up in the form of a farm vehicle. Land Rover had launched in 1948, designed by the Wilks brothers at the Rover Company, essentially as a stopgap product to keep the factory running during post-war steel shortages. It was never meant to be a military icon. It was meant to be a Jeep-inspired farmer's workhorse, simple, cheap, and built from mostly off-the-shelf components, including aircraft-grade aluminium because steel was in short supply. And that simplicity turned out to be exactly what the British Army actually needed. The Land Rover used a conventional engine, a straightforward gearbox, and parts that could be repaired by any competent mechanic with basic tools, not a specialist trained on one single vehicle type. It was lighter. It was cheaper to buy. It was dramatically cheaper to maintain. And crucially, it was already being adopted in growing numbers by British forces almost as soon as it hit the market, proving itself in the field while the Champ was still working through its complicated production run. The result was inevitable, even if it took a few years to play out. The Austin Champ entered full service in 1952, and by the time the late 1950s rolled around, the British Army was already shifting hard toward the Land Rover as its standard light vehicle. Production of the Champ wound down not because it failed on the battlefield, it didn't, but because it simply couldn't compete on cost, simplicity, and ease of repair against a vehicle that was never even designed to be a soldier's ride in the first place. Think about that for a second. The War Office spent years drawing up an exhaustive specification sheet, commissioned a bespoke Rolls-Royce engine, engineered portal axles, and a 5-speed reversing gearbox, and lost to a vehicle built out of spare parts and aircraft aluminium because a British car company couldn't get enough steel. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the vehicle's history left behind, do me a favor and smash that like button, and drop a comment telling me which forgotten British vehicle you want covered next. It genuinely helps this channel keep digging up stories like this one. Now, the Champ didn't just vanish overnight. It soldiered on in reduced numbers through the 1950s and into the 1960s, seeing use with the British Army, and interestingly, it found a longer life abroad. Australia adopted a locally built version, and the Champ remained in Australian military service for years after the British had largely moved on, a small irony considering it had been designed as the definitive British answer to the Jeep problem. But in the country that built it, the story of the Austin Champ is really a story about a lesson learned the hard way. Military procurement in the years after World War II was still operating on wartime logic. Spend whatever it takes, engineer for every conceivable scenario, and assume cost is a secondary concern next to capability. The Champ was the last real expression of that mindset in Britain's light vehicle program. What came after was a hard pivot towards simplicity, standardization, and keeping costs under control, principles the Land Rover embodied almost by accident. It's a strange kind of legacy for a vehicle that, mechanically, was arguably superior to what replaced it. The Champ could outclimb, outweigh, and out-engineer the early Land Rovers in a straight technical contest. But an army doesn't run on technical superiority alone. It runs on vehicles that can be fixed in a field with a spanner and a spare part pulled from a crate, not shipped in from a single specialist supplier. So the next time you see a classic Land Rover, spare a thought for the vehicle it quietly buried. The Austin Champ was Britain's most ambitious attempt to build the perfect military Jeep replacement, and it got beaten by a machine that was never supposed to wear a uniform at all. If you want more stories like this, the overlooked vehicles, the forgotten programs, the equipment that history left in the shadows, make sure you're subscribed, because this channel exists to dig up exactly these kinds of stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.